In this episode, I'm going to show you cutting out two of the bulkheads. This is bulkhead number 2, and I'll also show you bulkhead number 4. And this is actually the height. If I was standing right now on the hull bottom, then, well, I wouldn't have enough room to stand up inside the hulls. I would have to bend down a little bit to make that. The main restriction that I have here is I'm building this sailboat in my garage, and well, I only have so much room to clear the garage door. Otherwise, if I build it too high, I won't actually be able to get the sailboat out of my garage. So I have to make sure that it fits the dimensions that will allow me to get it out of the garage when it's done. And this is actually pretty close to the original size of the plans, so that's also good. All right, let me show you how I measured and cut these out. I've epoxied together some of the southern yellow pine using scarf joints, and I set the miter saw to about a 7-degree angle for this. And this has been curing now for about a day, but it's not 100% cured. So while I'm waiting for that to cure, because I don't want to really stress that by trying to bend it, while I'm waiting for that to completely cure, maybe another day, I mentioned that I'll be able to start working on the bulkheads. So I've taken the plywood and laid it out here flat and used the straight edge and a square to draw out the lines of where I'm going to cut. And the plans now call for something like this. The plans will tell me the angle here. And by the angle, I mean this angle from about here to here. And it's a precise angle. So the plan might say something like, I don't know, I forget, I think it's like 20.7 degrees. So it's very difficult to measure that precise of an angle and get it accurate, especially for such a long line that has to come all the way out to here. That's a very long line, and to try to measure a tiny angle like that and get that accurate, it's, almost impossible to get that. So it's much better to use some trigonometry, and because I know the distance up to this line, which comes straight over, this forms a right triangle, and all I really need to do is take the tangent of 20.7 degrees and multiply that by the distance up to here, and that will tell me the distance from here over to this point right here. And that allows me to mark these lines out using just measurements, and once the measurements are made, I can then draw the lines and get a much accurate angle. Allow me to introduce bulkhead number 2 and bulkhead number 4. Bulkhead number 2, the smaller of the two, will be the one a little bit closer to the bow of the sailboat, and bulkhead number 4 will be a little bit more towards the back of the boat. So the reason I'm going with these two is because I'm modifying the plans a little bit. I can't follow the exact dimensions in the plans. Things like the angles here that I mentioned, I can follow those, and things like the distance from here to here, this actually will match the distance on the hull bottoms, and this one here will match the distance on the hull bottoms, and the distance from this point all the way up this straight line to this angle right here match the I guess the depth of the whole side, or the width of the whole side, or maybe once it's standing up it would be the height of the whole side, so that will match that. And the part that is up above these angles here, or up above this horizontal line, will be the cabin that is up above the hulls. I attached 1/2 of the stringer, the bottom stringer, to the hull side and left a gap here for the hull bottom to be glued in. And I used a couple pieces of wood. This is a piece of the cedar that's been planed down to the same thickness as the planking, and another piece of 6mm plywood. And I used both of those as a guide to get the right distance, and then clamped that stringer all along here and epoxied it in place. So I mentioned this is just half of the stringer because I'm going to take another stringer just like it and glue it right on top of this one, and that will increase the thickness of this stringer to about 1.5 inches thick and about 1 inch wide. And that extra thickness will allow me to clamp the hull bottom to this stringer. And the way I'm going to do that is I got some more of the 12-inch deep throat C-clamps, and I'm thinking that these clamps will fit over this like this and should be just enough clearance for the whole bottom to be able to clamp this. And what that will do is it will clamp the whole bottom tight up against this stringer. And to hold the whole bottom tight against the whole side, I'll just use a normal clamp going up and down to pull the whole bottom down towards the whole side. And I'll use these big C-clamps to hold it tight up against this stringer. Now that I move the hull bottoms out of the way and we just have the two hull sides laying flat, I can just temporarily stand up these bulkheads and show you a little bit of the size of one of the hulls. So I mentioned that I made bulkheads 2 and 4. So number 1 will go up there about where those sandbags are, and then that is bulkhead number 2. Bulkhead number 3 goes right in the middle, and it's not really a plywood bulkhead. It's more just a outline, a reinforcement, because this is going to be in between bulkheads 2 and 4 is going to be the part of the hull that can be entered. And so this will be things like the galley, for instance. And then down here will be bulkhead number 5 at this line, and then bulkhead number 6 will be back here at this line. So one of the reasons why I can't actually cut all the bulkheads out now is because I mentioned that I changed some of the dimensions slightly. And so, for instance, I made the hull bottoms a little bit wider than in the plans. And the way to calculate, for instance, the dimension of a different bulkhead is I'm going to use a batten like this, just a little flexible board, and use this to get a smooth curve and actually measure the distances that will be, and then I can cut out the other bulkheads to actually fit with the curves that I'll be measuring directly like this. So that's the plan, and I think I'm going to get this video posted so that you can see the progress. And let's see, one other little thing is I will be taking notches out of the bulkheads. I don't have it notched yet, but I'll have to notch the corners here of the bulkheads to fit around these stringers. And likewise, there's going to be another stringer here on the top edge of the hull side, so there will need to be a notch made out of this bulkhead here. So I'm not going to actually glue these bulkheads in place yet until the stringers are in place, and the probably the whole bottoms will go in next. But I will use the bulkheads to make sure that the whole bottom is at the correct angle, that it's a perfect 90-degree angle straight up. So the whole bottom should come right up against the bottom edge of this bulkhead like that. Alright, so yeah, I think that's good enough for this video. So you can see the progress, and it's starting to take shape. Alright, that'll be enough for now. Bye.